Good evening. What you need to know: Zimbabwe erupts in celebration as Robert Mugabe quits. Story continues below. Advertisement. After 37 years of dictatorship and misrule, Robert Mugabe has resigned as Zimbabwe's president. His resignation letter was read to a joint sitting of Zimbabwe's Parliament on Tuesday afternoon, barely an hour after it had begun debating a motion to impeach Mr. Mugabe. Within moments, the city of Harare erupted into wild and riotous celebrations. Robert Rotberg looks at why the rise of Zimbabwe's vice-president Emmerson Crocodile Mnangagwa is democracy delayed. CRA blocks calls, often gives taxpayers wrong information. Auditor says the Canada Revenue Agency blocked 29 million calls, or more than half of its call volume, over a one-year period, forcing some taxpayers to make up to 4 call attempts per week with no guarantee of reaching an agent, according to a new report. Auditor General Michael Ferguson's fall report also found that CRA agents gave taxpayers the wrong answers to their questions nearly 30% of the time. The report, tabled in the House of Commons Tuesday morning, said the crass 9 call centers did not always provide taxpayers with timely access to accurate information, potentially causing taxpayers to file incorrect returns, miss filing deadlines, pay too little or too much tax, or miss out on tax benefits. Trump discounts accusations of UAL misconduct against Roy Moore. U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday discounted allegations of UAL assault against Alabama Republican Senate nominee Roy Moore and said voters should not support Moore's liberal rival. Mr. Trump addressed the controversy surrounding Moore for the first time since top Republican leaders called on Moore to step aside more than a week ago. 6 women have accused Moore of pursuing romantic relationships with them when they were teenagers, and he was an assistant district attorney in his 30s. 2 have accused him of assault or molestation. He vehemently denies the allegations. TTC head Andy Byford leaving post to lead New York City Transit. Story continues below. Advertisement. The head of Toronto's transit agency is leaving after a 5-year tenure that will be capped with the opening of a new subway extension. Andy Byford announced Tuesday that he would be heading to New York next month to head a transit agency there. He will stay in Toronto long enough to open the Toronto Transit Commission's subway connection to Vaughan, a city north of Toronto. Mr. Byford said the short notice of his departure was because of the lengthy process sorting out his U.S. visa. His exit comes after a tumultuous time in the top job at the TTC. CBS News. PBS fire Charlie Rose after UAL harassment allegations. Pixar co-founder taking leave after missteps with employees. CBS News and PBS fired Charlie Rose on Tuesday, less than 24 hours after several women who worked with him on his PBS interview show alleged a pattern of UAL misconduct, including groping and walking around naked. To date, there have been no accusations of bad behavior by Mr. Rose from people who work at CBS News, where he had been a co-host of CBS This Morning since 2012 and a contributor to 60 Minutes. The allegations, first outlined in the Washington Post, are from people who worked with Mr. Rose or prospective employees at his nightly PBS show, which has been suspended by the network. Meanwhile, Pixar co-founder and Walt Disney Animation chief John Lasseter is taking a 6-month leave of absence, citing missteps with employees. Mr. Lasseter acknowledged in a memo that he made some employees feel disrespected and uncomfortable. He apologized to anyone who has received an unwanted hug or gesture and to those he let down. This is the Daily Evening Update newsletter, a roundup of the important stories of the day and what everyone is talking about that will be delivered to your inbox every weekday around 5 p.m. ET. If you're reading this, or if someone forwarded this email to you, you can sign up for Evening Update and all Globe newsletters here. Have feedback, let us know what you think. Market Watch. Story continues below. Advertisement. Canada's main stock index rose to a 12-day high on Tuesday, boosted by materials companies as gold and copper prices climbed, while TransCanada Corp. added to gains after winning a key approval for its Keystone XL pipeline on Monday. The Toronto Stock Exchange's SP/TSX Composite Index gained 0.45% to close at 16,076.65. U.S. stocks jumped and the SP 500 finished at a record high for the first time in about 2 weeks, led by gains in this year's top-performing technology sector. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.68% to end at 23,590.69. The SP 500 gained 0.65% to close at 2,599.05, and the Nasdaq Composite added 1.06% to finish at 6,862.48. We've launched a new Top Business Evening Edition newsletter providing a summary of the biggest business headlines of the day. Sign up for it and more than a dozen other Globe newsletters here. What's trending? Wilfrid Laurier apologizes to Lindsay Shepherd. Wilfrid Laurier University is apologizing to teaching assistant Lindsay Shepherd after her superiors criticized her for airing a clip of a debate on gender-neutral pronouns, noting her neutral approach was akin to remaining neutral on the views of Adolf Hitler. Laurier President Deborah McClatchy issued a statement saying she heard recordings of the meeting between Ms. Shepherd and her bosses and says the meeting does not reflect the university's values. Manitoba Premier says getting lost in New Mexico desert a humbling experience. Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister choked up as he recounted a night in the New Mexico desert that left him lost, wandering and with a broken arm. "I am so happy to be alive. I am so thankful for the people down there," said Mr. Pallister, who paused briefly to collect himself as he gave his first comments to media since an ill-fated hike November 13 in the Gila Wilderness, a remote protected area in southwest New Mexico with limited roads, amenities and cell phone coverage. Talking points: the press versus the president. Are the media biased against Trump? The media did much to make Donald Trump. Recall in the Republican primaries how he got so much coverage, so many exploding headlines compared to other candidates, that he hardly had to spend money on advertising. Now he fears the media are so hostile they are on making him. Lawrence Martin: can the government save the middle-class wannabe homeowner in Toronto and Vancouver? The Vancouver and Toronto markets have been volatile in recent years as measures taken by various levels of government to contain price increases butted up against strong demand from domestic and foreign buyers. Sales levels in the two cities have been down over some time frames, and so have prices. But the bottom line over the past 2 years is that houses are considerably more expensive for middle-class buyers. Rob Carrick: how should the Baseball Hall of Fame be dealing with pet users? How many times do you need to have done drugs in order to become an irrevocable cheat? Does anyone get an Andy Pettitte style mulligan? I just wanted to try it once. Or how about Roger Clemens had put up hall-worthy numbers by the time it's alleged he began a steroid regimen at 36 years old. Do a few dirty years at the end, negate all his clean ones, which were far better. Cathal Kelly: living better. It's true that you won't find summer's bounty of locally grown, farm-fresh produce in the grocery store this time of the year, but that's not an excuse to let your daily intake of fruits and vegetables plummet. Now, and in the colder months to come, there are plenty of in-season produce that deliver flavor and nutrition. Long reads for a long commute. Brian Mulroney on Trump: he's very unorthodox as Canada heads into the latest round of NAFTA renegotiations. Brian Mulroney, who signed the original deal in 1992, has some advice on how to handle Donald Trump. For subscribers, NATO Research Center sets sights on Canadian website over pro-Russia disinformation in an upscale condo in Old Montreal owned by a retired University of Ottawa professor. Sits the headquarters of a website that is now in the sights of NATO's Strategic Communications Center of Excellence, as it investigates, among other things, the spread of pro-Russia propaganda and of disinformation that props up the regime of President Bashar al-Assad in Syria. For subscribers, Evening Update is written by Christine Kwan. If you'd like to receive this newsletter by email every weekday evening, go here to sign up. If you have any feedback, send us a note.